This is the most valuable fictional character in the history of movies. In 1999, he was sold for $7 million. Everyone else, basically every hero you've ever bought a ticket for, was offered as a bundle for $25. Sony said no thanks. And buried in the paperwork is a countdown clock that legally forces Spider movies to exist forever. This is the dumbest story capitalism ever wrote, and it explains every Spider-Man you've ever seen. To understand the $7 million, you have to go back to 1985 when nobody wanted this character. Superhero movies were box office poison. Superman 3 had just face-planted and studios treated comic books like a rash. Enter Cannon Films, a B-movie factory best known for ninja movies and Chuck Norris. Cannon's bosses, Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus, bought the Spider-Man movie rights from Marvel for $225,000. A character now worth billions went for the price of a decent house. With one condition in the fine print: make a movie in 5 years, or the rights snap back to Marvel. Remember that clause. It is the entire story. Small problem, the Cannon guys had never read the comic. They thought Spider-Man was a monster, like the Wolfman. So they commissioned a script where a corporate scientist blasts a photographer with radiation and turns him into a hairy, 8-armed tarantula creature. Which is not a superhero movie. That is a horror movie about a man having the worst week of his life. Marvel's people eventually explained the character. The Wolfman draft died, and a real script got written. Cannon even took out trade ads. Directors were attached. Tom Cruise's name got floated. It was almost real. Then Cannon ran out of money because their business model was make 80 movies and hope. And here's where it gets stupid. The rights didn't go home. They started traveling. Golan left Cannon and took Spider-Man with him to a new company. Same man, new letterhead. To raise cash, he pre-sold pieces of a movie that didn't exist. TV rights to Viacom, home video to Columbia Pictures. Circle that one, Columbia. It's a loaded gun on the mantle. Then the rights got sold again, $5 million this time, to Carolco, the studio behind Terminator 2. Carolco handed Spider-Man to James Cameron, the James Cameron, who wrote a treatment he genuinely loved. For a decade, the biggest director alive wanted to make this movie. It never happened. Because Carolco went bankrupt too. Everyone who touched the spider went broke, like a cursed amulet. By the mid-90s, the rights were a courtroom hairball. Studios suing studios, everyone claiming a piece. And meanwhile, Marvel itself, the company, was busy doing something even dumber. The 90s comic boom. People bought holographic variant covers like they were retirement accounts. They were not retirement accounts. The bubble popped, sales cratered, and Marvel had leveraged itself to the eyeballs on the way up. December 1996. Marvel Comics, home of every hero on your lunchbox, filed for bankruptcy. Bankruptcy does two things. It clears your debts, and it turns everything you love into inventory. Corporate raiders fought over the corpse for 2 years. A toy company ended up on top. And in 1998, the courts finally untangled the movie rights and handed them home. After 13 years, Marvel owned its Spider again. Which sounds like a happy ending, except Marvel was broke. They needed cash the way you need oxygen. So they did what broke people do. They held a garage sale. The X-Men went to Fox. Fantastic Four, Fox. Hulk, Universal. Heroes scattered across Hollywood like divorce furniture. And then Sony came shopping. An executive named Yair Landau walked into Marvel with one job: get Spider-Man. Sony owned Columbia, which still held those old home video rights. Nobody else could cleanly make the movie. Sony just had to close. Across the desk, Ike Perlmutter, Marvel's famously frugal boss, a man who reportedly reused paper clips. And Ike made Sony a counteroffer. Not just Spider-Man, everything, $25 million. Iron Guy, Thunder Guy, the Green One, Captain Patriotism, the Ant Fellow, the Panther, all of them, one receipt. Landau took the bundle back to his bosses at Sony. Their answer is one of the most expensive sentences ever spoken out loud. Quote, "Nobody gives a of the other Marvel characters. Go back and do a deal for only Spider-Man. In their defense, in 1998 they were right. Iron Man was a C-lister. Thor was a guy from a myth. Nobody knew. So the deal closed for the Spider alone. About $7 million up front, with Marvel keeping 5% of the box office and half the merchandise money. Hold on to that last part, the toy clause. It's quiet now. It gets loud later. Marvel got its cash injection. Sony got the most valuable character in comics for the price of a mid-catering budget. Everyone went home feeling like the winner, which in any deal means somebody is very wrong. It just takes a decade to find out who. May 2002, the first Spider-Man movie opens, and the industry's jaw hits the floor. $114 million in one weekend, the first movie in history to crack $100 million in 3 days. The superhero era, the one we're all still living in, starts right here, on a character bought at a bankruptcy sale. Quick side note, why is this the character everyone bankrupts themselves over? Because under the mask, he's the only superhero with rent problems. Peter Parker misses buses, loses jobs, disappoints his aunt, and saves the city between shifts. A broke kid owned by a broke publisher sold at a garage sale. Everyone wants him because he's the only god who's also us. The Raimi trilogy grossed $2.5 billion. Marvel's cut of the tickets, that little straw, 5%. But the toy clause? Half of every backpack, lunchbox, pajama set, and toothbrush, forever. Some years, the quiet company selling pajamas did embarrassingly well compared to the loud company making movies. Now, the fine print, because the 1999 contract has a heartbeat and this is it. Per the leaked terms, Sony must start a new picture within 3 years and 9 months of the last one and release within 5 years and 9 months, or the rights revert. It goes further. Minimum $75 million budget, must be PG-13, must open on at least 2,000 screens. The contract micromanages like a stage parent, which means Spider-Man movies don't get made when someone has an idea. They get made when the clock says so. It's not a franchise, it's a lease with a treadmill attached. 2007. The third Raimi movie makes a fortune and satisfies no one. The director walks rather than rush a fourth. And now watch the clause do its work. No director, no movie, clock ticking. What does Sony do? They reboot. 5 years after Part 3, inside the deadline, a brand new Spider-Man. New actor, new suit, same radioactive field trip. Which is why Uncle Ben dies again. Not for artistic reasons. He dies because a lease needed renewing, on schedule. And every time, the same last words. With great power comes great responsibility. He says it, he dies. A hero gets built on it. Every single reboot. Say it with me. Reboots are not creative decisions. They're calendar events. 2014. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 underperforms. Sony's whole Spider plan, spin-offs, shared universe, 6 movies, wobbles. But that movie leaves one permanent mark. The clock tower, Gwen Stacy falls. The web reaches her a fraction of a second late. He catches her. It doesn't matter. That soft thud is the loudest silence in superhero movies. Comic readers saw it coming. It's from 1973. Everyone else learned that day that Spider-Man stories are allowed to lose. Then Sony gets hacked, and its internal emails end up on the news, including the Spider-Man panic. The world got to read studio executives openly stressing about the most valuable character in film, in real time. And watching all of this from next door was Marvel, except Marvel wasn't broke anymore. Remember the characters nobody cared about? Marvel had mortgaged them for a credit line and made Iron Man itself in 2008. The bundle Sony refused for $25 million became the Marvel Cinematic Universe, $30+ billion at the box office. The rejects won. So by 2015, a Marvel that can't touch its own mascot and a Sony that can't figure out what to do with him. One obvious, humiliating answer. Shared custody. February 2015. Sony keeps the rights and the money, and Marvel's Kevin Feige takes over creative. The kid gets 2 homes. A third Spider-Man in 13 years, Tom Holland, debuts inside someone else's movie like a foster kid at a new school. Fun detail. This version doesn't even re-kill Uncle Ben. Even the studio was tired of the funeral. It works. 2019, Far From Home becomes Sony's highest-grossing movie ever, $1.13 billion. So naturally, Disney looks at that number and says, "Lovely, new deal, we want half." Sony says no, talks collapse. And for about 6 weeks in 2019, Spider-Man is publicly kicked out of the Marvel Universe. The internet holds a funeral. Grown adults write petitions. It is briefly a geopolitical crisis. Then the actor himself, 23 years old, reportedly calls the Disney CEO and the Sony chairman personally and asks them to fix it. They fix it. Disney takes a quarter instead of half, co-finances, and the studios agree to one more film together. That film is No Way Home, $1.9 billion. Sony's biggest movie ever, again. Here's my favorite part, the multiverse plot. 3 generations of Spider-Man on screen. Everyone reads it as fan service. It's not. It's the rights history standing in a row. Every Spider-Man on that screen exists because of a different piece of paper. And inside all that fan service, the paperwork accidentally writes poetry. The middle Spider-Man, the one whose franchise died with Gwen, catches this universe's falling girl. 8 years of guilt, closed by a crossover clause. People cried in theaters at a licensing deal. Cinema. Meanwhile, Sony keeps the engine warm with spin-offs about the Spider's villains without the Spider. Some exist mainly so a clause somewhere stays satisfied. There's a phrase for this genre, contractual obligation cinema. Ironically, the most beloved recent Spider movies are the animated ones, made outside the panic because nobody was watching the clock. The contract even defines who counts as Spider-Man. Per the leaked terms, Sony has claims on characters who shoot webs or have Spider in the name. Somewhere, a lawyer got paid to think about this. Anyway. So why are there so many Spider-Men? Because in 1985, a ninja movie studio bought him for the price of a house. Because in 1996, Marvel went bankrupt selling holograms. Because in 1998, Sony said no to everyone else, and yes to a $7 million Spider with a countdown timer attached. And because that timer never stops, there will always be another one, whether anyone has an idea or not. Somewhere along the way, the most famous line in comics picked up an addendum. With great power comes great quarterly obligations. The heroes nobody wanted became the biggest franchise on Earth. The one hero everyone wanted became a lease. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man doesn't live in the neighborhood. He rents, with a strict landlord and a move-out inspection every 575 years. If you enjoyed this, subscribing costs $0 a month. The only deal in this video where nobody got robbed. Anyway.